Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig. I am your host, Craig DeLuz. This is my coffee, and that right there is the rest of my coffee. Anyway, thank you so very much for tuning in. We are brought to you by Sacramento Black Rifle and Sparks Black Rifle, two gun stores, avid supporters of the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms, and our partners here on Coffee with Craig. So please make it a point. Visit them online. Check them out. Fantastic stores, great owners. Also, want to remind you guys to please like and share our video feed, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook, because I know a lot of folks aren't on Facebook, but they do watch us on YouTube. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. We have a lot of stuff. There's always stuff going on from coast to coast. There are things that are happening on Facebook. There are things that are happening, and we're letting you guys know about it on Facebook. Also, go to our website, firearmspolicy.org. That's firearmspolicy.org. Subscribe to our emails. That is the most direct place where we can get direct information to you about our fire missions and things that are going on. Once again, those are all the ways in which you can get a hold of us and join us as we fight for our civil rights. Let's get into today. Oh, before we get into today's topic, once again, reminding you guys, the FPC Gear store is open. We are selling our very popular Gadsden flag, Don't Tread on Me t-shirts. No, the firearm does not come with the t-shirt, but you can be more than happy to go to Sacramento or Sparks Black Rifle and get yourself a firearm to go with your very cool t-shirt. But we've also got other designs that are available for you there at FPC Gear. These are just some of the designs that will be available for you. I would like to encourage you to take advantage and know that every dollar that you go is going to help support our right to keep and bear arms. And where do you purchase these things? You can purchase them at fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. It is that simple. Okay, moving right along on to today's topic. Now, just so you guys know, there seems to be a trend that is taking place on the national level, and that is the targeting of students who either choose to speak out in support of the Second Amendment or who tend to engage in the Second Amendment on their own free time under the supervision of their parents. There has been instances where students have gone to the shooting range with their parents, once again, totally legal, not engaging in any illegal activity, and yet and still have been the subject of either investigations or, in some cases, suspensions by their school. Now, we talked to you about an incident that occurred earlier in the year where two guys, right around the national walkout, decided that they were going to go to the gun range, and once again, went supervised by their parents, posted a picture online of them, and they got suspended. Well, here's another incident. This was a young man who was there at the Parkland High School shooting, and has been very vocal when it comes to the Second Amendment. Well, guess what? He got in trouble at school for going to the gun range and posting a picture of it. Check it out real quick.
Kyle Kashev was there that day at Parkland. He's a survivor of the shooting. He's a high school student in Parkland. He says he was recently called in for questioning by school officials for daring to go to a gun range with his dad. Kyle joins us tonight. So Kyle, thank you for coming on. Am I misstating that? Tell us what you did that earned you a trip to visit with armed authorities at your school. What was your crime?
It wasn't even a trip. It was an interrogation. It was a clear attempt to intimidate me, and they used very, very, very harsh intimidation tactics. I mean, at the end of the day, I went shooting with my dad at a gun range. I mean, I did everything peacefully. I went shooting with my dad, and I did absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, I posted a video of me showing my admiration for the Second Amendment and telling people to educate themselves about the Second Amendment because we can't trust our government to defend ourselves.
So you went to a gun range with your dad, which I think is still legal in this country, and you'd think that we would encourage this because you learn gun safety and how to handle a gun appropriately. You didn't misuse it. You got called in and interrogated. What questions could they have asked you? What would be the interrogation?
So I come into the office, okay, and it was all very, very weird. I sit down, and the school resource officer goes like this. He says, "Kyle, you're taking 5 AP classes. You're such a good student. Why would you do something like this?" And I was in shock. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, why'd you do something like this? And they came in there with the notion that I had done something wrong by going to a gun range. So I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you tweeted out a video of you at a range." I said, "Did you see the tweet?" He said, "No, I didn't see the tweet. I don't do Twitter." So I'm like, "Well, then check the tweet." The tweet in itself was a video of me shooting a firearm, telling people to educate themselves about the Second Amendment. So we talked back and forth, and then the Broward Sheriff's Officer comes into the room. He comes in the room, he sits right behind me, very, very, very close. And then the interrogation truly starts. They go, "Whose gun is it? Who'd you shoot it with? Why'd you shoot it? Who'd you shoot it with? Is it your gun? Is it your dad's gun? When did you go?" And at this entire time, I was like, did I do anything wrong? I mean, it's still America. Last time I checked, I can go to a gun range and shoot it peacefully. And then I said, "What? Like, did I do anything wrong?" And they said, "Don't get snappy with me." And then I was like, "All right, can I record this?" And they said, "No." And I mean, in reality,
they did not allow you to record the conversation. Why?
Nope. I explicitly asked. I asked the school resource officer, "May I record this?" And he said no.
And you told them, you were clear that you were with your father.
Mm-hmm. And that they were they tried to somewhat tell me, or to intimidate me, to somehow incriminate my father. It was a real push. They came in there like knowingly saying that I was at fault for exercising my Second Amendment right at a gun range. And it comes down to this. Why should I be interrogated for peacefully going to a gun range? I asked them, I was like, "Did I do anything wrong?" They said, "No, you're not a threat." So why are they calling down me? Why are they calling down me? Is every single individual going to a gun range going to be called down? What is the end to it? Because it's a clear road to tyranny.
Well, maybe because I have children, I sympathize with your father. He's an adult American citizen, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, he has a right to take his son where he wants within the bounds of the law without getting second-guessed by some school person. I mean, it's pretty...
Absolutely.
Finally and quickly, what did he say about this?
My dad has been in shock. He doesn't understand how something so small can turn into something like, why was my son being interrogated? The school resource officer hadn't even called my father about this. They didn't even know I was going to meet him.
Yeah.
They didn't know this.
Yeah, because they don't care about his rights as a parent at all.
So one of the things, and here's the thing. So in other words, here it is. They say he's not a threat. Well, okay. So if you bring in the law enforcement, the first thing that I would hope that any gun owner would know, and I think that we ought to make sure we also educate our children, is you have a right against self-incrimination. That's one of those other fundamental rights that you have. That is enshrined in the Constitution. And the first thing that I would have said, had my son say, is parent and lawyer. Because once you do that, they can't question you. They shouldn't be able to question you. I would have told my child would know first and foremost, no, you know what? You get my mom and dad down here, and you get my lawyer down. You get their lawyer down here. Because that's the way in which, that way in which you can protect the rights of your child. But here it is. Why were they questioning a minor without his parents present? And it wasn't just school officials. It was law enforcement was questioning him without his parents there. Once again, their whole thing is that clearly because he was choosing to exercise his Second Amendment rights, just because he was doing something, once again, totally illegal, well, he must be doing something evil. But see, it wasn't just him. And it wasn't just a questioning. There's another individual who actually went through something very, very similar. And, it resulted in this individual actually being punished. Check it out.
The red sweater-wearing man at the 2016 presidential debate is facing some trouble tonight. Ken Bone says a picture of him and his son at a shooting range got his son suspended from school. Bone says the picture was prompted after he saw a similar photo of a student from Stoneman Douglas High School. Ken Bone and the red sweater he wore during the 2016 presidential debate made him an internet sensation overnight. Now it seems the digital world has come to haunt him.
I shared a photo on social media of me and him at the gun range. I was teaching him how to shoot.
Him as in his 14-year-old son, now suspended from the St. Clair, Illinois Regional Office Safe School.
One of the school administrators saw that, and I got a call saying that my son couldn't come back to school until the police investigated.
Bone says he shared the 2-year-old picture out of sheer innocence, showing his support for Kyle Kashuv, a Marjorie Stoneman Douglas student who does not support gun control. He recently tweeted a photo of him at a shooting range and said school security officials questioned him about the picture.
Kyle Kashuv, one of the survivors from the Parkland massacre, was having trouble with security at his school. He had tweeted some pictures of himself with his father at the gun range, and I wanted to show my support for him. So I tweeted basically the same photo with me and my son.
School officials in Illinois didn't take that lightly.
She said that the caption where I had said the security officers should talk to my son, she said that was threatening.
Bone's son has been in trouble before.
He took a pocket knife with him to school, and he said he didn't mean to. It was zipped up in his binder, but still, there were consequences from that. He got expelled from his old school, which is why he goes to the St. Clair ROE Safe School now.
The suspension was lifted Friday, and Bone's son will be allowed to return to school on Monday. Bone hopes his son has learned a lesson.
Definitely be responsible with what you put on social media. It stays around forever. There's no such thing as deleting anything, and be really careful with your words.
Well, the school district declined to comment on the case because of student privacy, but the superintendent of schools said Illinois law gives school officials latitude when it comes to holding students accountable, even for activity off campus.
Right. So lawful activity off campus is now being held accountable for. What kind of sense does this make? I mean, the fact that we are going to allow for individuals who participate and who engage in lawful activity outside of school, outside of school. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to be subjected to interrogation. They're going to be subjected to suspensions simply because the school administration doesn't believe in what the individual believes in. You guys already know Firearms Policy Coalition and Firearms Policy Foundation is involved in a lawsuit against the Washoe County School District because they decided they were going to punish a student for wearing a T-shirt that said "Don't tread on me," because it said the word Firearms Policy Coalition, and they told him, "No, you can't wear that." So here we have students who are engaging in fully and wholly legal activity, not just legal, constitutionally protected activity. In the first two cases on their own time, and the other engaging in free speech, which, by the way, clearly they don't have a problem with, seeing as how they didn't suspend students for walking out in support of gun control. By the way, did you notice in that last video how they said that this individual, Kyle Kashuv, he's against gun control instead of saying he supports the Second Amendment? Or he supports gun rights? No, they have to make him against something. Well, I'm against stupidity. And clearly, these educational institutions have demonstrated not just a lack of wisdom, not just an ignorance when it comes to the Constitution, whether it comes to free speech, due process, and the Second Amendment. But clearly they are just stupid if they honestly and truly think they can get away with this. You notice what happened with that one student, the student from Illinois. You notice after the media got involved, they lifted the suspension and allowed him to go back to school. That's because they know they're wrong. That is because they know that they are wrong. And if there's one thing that we've discovered, it's kind of a twofold thing that we've discovered in some of the lawsuits that we've done. The first thing is that institutions, government in particular, are trying to use our Second Amendment rights. Because we choose to engage in our Second Amendment rights, they're trying to take away other fundamental rights: free speech, due process, private property, right? But not only that, we're also, though, finding that when we go to court, that because they're going after and they're attacking other fundamental rights, we're also finding that, we're having a better chance in court when it comes to a lot of those things. We're finding that even the courts are starting to recognize that you cannot just on a whim deny fundamental civil rights. Right. In these cases, it's in some of these cases, we're talking about fundamental rights with which they agree. They may not agree on the Second Amendment, but eventually you're going to start to see a pattern where we believe you're going to have to start to give some sort of a deference to the Second Amendment. You're going to have to start to stand up and not allow our Second Amendment rights to be violated the way in which they're trying to violate our free speech and our due process rights. So, folks, once again, to those parents, to those dads who took their sons to the shooting range, and they posted the pictures. Your sons, your kids are learning some valuable lessons. To the parent who let their son wear the "Don't Tread on Me," they're learning some valuable lessons, and those valuable lessons are going to make them better young men, better adults, and better patriots. They're going to be better patriots for it. So, I wish I could say that the fight for civil rights was an easy one and that we weren't going to encounter conflict. But because we know that there are people who don't believe in civil rights, or at least they don't believe in all civil rights, and they don't believe in all civil rights for all people, we know that we're going to have a fight on our hands. And as long as there are parents like that and kids like that who are willing to stand up, then we have a fighting chance, and we will have victory. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for being a part of the fight for civil rights. Remember, we got to use them or we're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.